In our current situation, the world has been put on pause. This pandemic has changed a lot of lives around the world. Many of us have lost loved ones, and countless of others have lost their jobs. We are no longer safe to live and interact with one another the way we used to. I can't say this pandemic has not affected me, even though it has, but I cannot compare it to what many others have been facing. I have interviewed several others to see how their quarantine experience has been like. The first person I decided to interview was my mom, Carmen. I was able to find her in the kitchen while she was preparing for dinner.
This been a very hard year for me. Before the pandemic, I lost my brother, and it was very, very sad for all the family. But thank God that we, superate this pain, and we just trying to keep going. With the pandemic, everything changed. We stay a lot of time at home. We miss going to the movies and spend time. We miss going to the restaurants and have a good meal with friends and with company. And it's been very hard. We thought it was something very simple, but it was more complicated than we think. We really hope that we can recuperate from this and we can do better. This been affected a lot of my family, because when my father got the virus, he was in the hospital for 7 months, and it was very hard for us because we can really communicate with him. But it was a hard time for him because he was very scared that he's not gonna make it. But he's fine now, and he's trying to be very careful to take care of himself and trying to stay away to go out a lot. So it's been hard for us.
The second person I interviewed was my friend, Joel, who was gracious enough to come over to be interviewed.
So my life during COVID-19 has been kind of a special, difficult. At the beginning of it, I heard about it and didn't think much of it. Wasn't too concerned about it. Working didn't really change. I've been working ever since it started, ever until up to this day. Didn't make work kind of more boring, seeing how, as I work security, and usually government workers are part of the people I have to watch as well as public, but that kind of all stopped. But it was especially difficult because my niece has MOG, autoimmune disorder, and she's categorized as a really high risk to COVID-19. So most of my life has been really just work and going back home, except for that means I couldn't see my fiance and my future son for a month at in, and that was pretty difficult. But ever since COVID hit, it was months at in. I mean, the longest was 3 months before I could see her, and it definitely put a strain on the relationship. We're still together, we're still getting married, so that's good. But no, as I said, normally just me going home, and it's a bummer to not see friends as often as I could. But it was mainly just not being able to leave the house and not be able to see again my fiance and my future son.
The last person I interviewed was my sister, Dariella, who was doing her makeup on the couch.
At first, my quarantine was really great. I actually like being at home. Everything I have is at home, so I just like hanging out the house. I don't really go anywhere. I kind of just stay home and play video games and hang out with my family. So I really liked being in quarantine at the beginning, whenever it started. When did it start? In March? Well, whatever. And then towards the middle, I noticed that I was getting really lazy, or I still am kind of lazy, but I used to work out with my brothers, and before quarantine happened, but obviously after they closed the gym and we couldn't go anymore and I didn't have any motivation to get up, so I would just stay in bed kind of all day, and I would only get up if I had to, as in I had to do stuff around the house or I had to do some homework for school, because I do still go to school, but I take online classes. But now I have to work because school started, and I work for AISD, so school has started for them, but it's all online work. But the good thing is that they said that we're supposed to return to school on October 5th, so I'm kind of excited about that, but you know, it's also scary because, you know, Corona is still out there.
This pandemic will be something we remember for the rest of our lives. We all have our stories to tell from our life in quarantine. But the most important thing is to appreciate the time we have with our loved ones, because we have been given the time to do so. I hope everyone continues to wear a mask and stay safe.